Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. With the postponement of the 2020 Olympic Games, many U.S. sports and their athletes are facing extraordinary financial hardship and decision-making, especially with the cancellation of most or all of their domestic competitions on July 24th, which would have been the opening ceremony in Tokyo. Giving Games was launched in an effort to support and sustain U.S. sports federations and their athletes on their journey to Tokyo in 2021. Joining me to discuss their journeys and what they are faced with, Brett Simpson, Team USA surf coach, Chuck Aoki, rugby Paralympian, Sam Mikulak, he's Team USA gymnast, and Tom Shepard, chairman of the U.S. Pentathlon. It's great to have you guys with us. And let's learn more about you guys and your road to 2020. Brett, I'm going to start with you because surfing has a special place in the Olympics.
Yeah, so I'm Brett Simpson. This is going to be the first year. It's very exciting. I just got announced coach early July. I was the head coach of the junior team for about 2 years now, and I've surfed obviously professional myself for about 15, 20 years. So it's very exciting. Our athletes are super pumped up. It's kind of fell in our lap a little bit. We've had a few injuries kind of along the way, and obviously the postponement was very kind of devastating, but it also, like I said, it's kind of worked out for us for our athletes. So looking forward to kind of get working with them. Their new season kind of starts for the tour in December. So ultimately the next few months is our goal, is to really try to get some trainings in, get together, build some of that chemistry, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, and Chuck, let's learn about your rugby journey.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Chuck Aoki, two-time U.S. Paralympian in the sport of wheelchair rugby, which is the most exciting sport I tell people they've never seen yet. It's the only full contact sport in the Paralympic Games. It's incredibly exciting, fun to watch. I'm a bronze medalist from the London Paralympic Games and a silver medalist from the Rio Games. So like to say I'm trending towards gold in Tokyo, hopefully. But obviously the delay has been a bit frustrating for us. It was, I think, ultimately the right thing to do. And we've looked at it as an opportunity, to really orient and give ourselves an extra year of training to get our new players up to speed, get ourselves more locked in as a team together. And, we can't control it. What we can control is how hard we prepare. So we're really looking forward to Tokyo 21 coming up next year.
All right, and Sam, Team USA gymnast. Everybody loves to watch gymnastics.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to do as well, but it has been a very interesting year, and a lot of different aspects have changed. Going into this year, I was really, past 4 years been ramping up for an Olympic medal, and I've been to the last 2 games, haven't gotten one, and I felt like I was on a very good path to accomplishing that goal. And then, halfway through the season, it just all gets cut off, and now I'm not allowed to train for years or for months at a time. And, I dropped very far down, and now I have to ramp back up all the way to where an Olympic level athlete should be. And, I'm not getting younger. I'm one of the oldest guys on the national team. And so it's definitely a bit of a hard hitter for guys in my age group. It's definitely a lot easier for the younger guys to bounce back, but, I still have a lot of wisdom is what I like to call it. And hopefully that, I'll span out this year in a way that will keep me healthy and, maybe even be better than I was before quarantine started.
That's a great attitude to have. And Tom, as chairman of the USA Pentathlon, you certainly have an interesting perspective as well.
Thank you. I think I do. First of all, I start the call by saying I love the fact that we're surrounded with our athletes. It's always a treat to be in the company of Olympic coaches, Olympic athletes, Paralympic athletes. They're the most aspirational element of sport in the country. And I am chairman of one of 51 national federations or national governing bodies. Mine happens to be USA Pentathlon Multisport. And the federations really are the cradle to grave stewards of sport in the United States. So all the way from youth and club systems to the spectrum where we're dealing with aspiring Olympians and Paralympians to Olympic sport, we are responsible for the infrastructure of their journey. So thank you for having us all on, and look forward to a great discussion here.
Yeah, it truly is an honor to have Olympic athletes on Nasdaq Trade Talks. It's something I never expected. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time. And I'll go back to the athletes for a minute. And again, Brett, we'll start with you. You guys are the most elite athletes in the world. What kind of physical and emotional toll does training take on you in general? And then 2020 certainly has its own set of circumstances.
Yeah, well, a lot for us depends on waves, and kind of that dictates a lot of our schedule, where the waves are going to be good. And I think that's the main focus. Obviously, our guys are doing a lot of training outside of that as well. There's a fine line to pushing it too hard to where your body breaks down, obviously, but we're spending a ton of time in the water. Like through this quarantine, all of our athletes have been surfing a lot. We have 2 that live over in Hawaii, and then 2 that are in here in Southern California right now. So they've all been in great shape. Like I did say, there was some kind of nicks along the way, which kind of this extension has worked for us, but we've been in great communication. Surfing is kind of the number one, of staying kind of fit there, everything well. And then we're doing some stuff on the side, a lot of plyometric stuff. Balance is obviously key in surfing. So those are the things we're working on right now, and staying confident, preparing for next year.
All right. And Chuck, all I have to say is rugby. I mean, talk about physicality. What's that like training as an elite rugby athlete?
Yeah, it's training is in a lot of ways the fun part of what we do. You don't get to this level if you don't love to train and love to get out there and work hard. Training during this time has been challenging for myself and a lot of our athletes. We're typically Paralympic athletes. A lot of us are more vulnerable to this virus that we're dealing with right now. So it's been it's been challenging to find new and creative ways to train, but you can always take your chair out and go push, 6 miles up and down the bike path until you can barely breathe, or do hill sprints up a country road until you're exhausted. So it's been kind of fun finding new ways to adapt and train together. But the most difficult thing for us has been, we're a team sport. At the core of what we do is we play together. 4 people are on a court together. We haven't been able to see each other since March, and that's been really challenging and difficult. But we're relying on technology like Zoom and FaceTime and all things like that to keep in touch with each other and stay engaged, hopefully. But rugby it's all about physicality, but it's also a big part of up there as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how Zoom and other kinds of technologies have kept us more together than even when we're in person. Anecdotally, I'm finding that as well. Now, Sam, as a gymnast, and what kind of gymnastics do you do? Is it floor? Is it beam? Is it all of them?
Yeah, so the guys do 6 events: floor, palm horse, rings, vaults, parallel bars, and high bar. And there's no way you could possibly replicate the types of exercises that those equipment involve. And so as soon as, I wasn't allowed to go into the gym anymore and having to do at-home workouts, I could tell that there was just, this big gap between the two. And there's one part of it where you have to be physically fit, but, I was able to do things that, maybe I didn't get to do before, a lot more rehab and things like that. Gymnasts don't run. I was running. And so it's very rare for, gymnasts to actually play that endurance route, because we do play, gymnastics is, 6 turns for 1 minute at a time. And so, I was doing like a type of cross training just to stay in shape kind of thing, so that when I did get back in the gym, I could start transitioning and, I won't have so much fat to burn off from all that quarantine weight. And so there was a big transition there. But the hardest part, I think, was mentally, being able to get myself to do these workouts, every day, and, kind of come up with new ways. And I started doing different exercises with my girlfriend, and things just weren't exactly what I wanted. And it was frustrating because I was in such great shape and I was so ready. And then just to cut it off was, I was scared for a while, and I'm still a little scared because I'm nowhere near where I was a couple months ago. And, it's such a long hike that I have to go through to get back into it. And so there's a lot of emotional aspect of me, trying to wrap my head around not being where I need to be right now, and knowing that I'm still a year away from the games. It's, nice to look at the long picture, but in the current moment, it always is just frustrating seeing how hard all these easy things are right now.
Yeah, totally understandable. And I guess athletes gain the COVID-15 also.
Yeah.
So Tom, explain to our audience, what's the difference between Olympic athlete compensation and training? What's the expense that goes into training? Because athletes, especially when they're not at the Olympic Games, don't have the sponsorships. Their regimen is really, really thrown off.
Yeah, it can be dealt with in a number of ways. The national governing bodies are part of the support system for the athletes, and again, all of our conversations begin and end with athlete support. So, our level of support is necessary to provide infrastructure, coaching, travel assistance, all of the mechanics that the athletes need to be able to be successful. And so, this, as all of these guys have rightly pointed out, this is still an Olympic year. It's just been extended by these 14 months. So now to be able to provide that assistance when there's so much financial pressure, whether there's a loss in revenue from sponsorship or in the donation space, which is why this Giving Games has become such a crucial part of enabling us as federations to continue to provide support directly to the athletes. So some of the athletes, there are very, very few athletes that are able to capitalize on their Olympic experience, especially when they're trying to make their teams. That it's, I think there's a misconception especially in the American public, that if you're an aspiring Olympian or you're an Olympian, that the money follows you directly. And I think a lot of the guys on this call would all say they need support. And there's only a select few that get endorsed at a very high level. So it's the support from individuals to their sport, and then from their governing bodies back to them, that provide and enable them to continue to train and travel and do all the things they need to do to fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, and Tom, at a time when our country is certainly divided, we do miss the Olympics. We do miss coming together as Team USA, supporting all of our athletes. How can supporting Giving Games help to bridge that social gap that we're experiencing right now?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think all of us have realized the importance of sport in our lives, from a recreational standpoint to an aspirational standpoint of watching the best of the best. So the Giving Games, and a quick shout out to Seal Foltz Consulting, who has really recognized the need of the NGBs and the athletes, and has created, conceived, and is executing the Giving Games. By taking part in the Giving Games, by donating, we'll be able to put money directly against athlete subsidies, athletes training, the coaches that are so necessary in the ecosystem. So the Giving Games initiative is very, very timely, very important, again, most importantly to the athletes.
All right, and with that, we're going to wrap with our athletes. I'd like to ask each one of them. Brett, we'll start with you again. What's your best advice for an aspiring Olympian? What does it take mentally and physically to achieve the level of athleticism that the surf team has achieved?
Yeah, well, this is all new for us. We just knew, obviously, a couple years ago we got pushed into the games, and we knew that it was finally a reality. So that for us, I will say, some of them, we've had a great tour that kind of provides a lot of the world champion. But this is another feather, like the biggest feather in the cap, and I think for our youth and me been able to deal with a lot of them coming up, it's a really big thing, and everyone's starting to realize like how much emphasis this has had on our sport, and puts us into the realm of like the whole world. Everyone's going to be able to see surfing at the highest level. So it's for me, I've been just trying to kind of key into our athletes and kind of guide them that way, and have them understand how I was always a big Olympic guy. I've watched it for my whole life growing up, the way the countries come together, and it would have been no better time than ever right now to have it, but it's still coming. And I think that's what I'm just trying to, I'm a very patriotic guy, and it's exciting to kind of let our, and obviously with the Giving Games right now, this is no better time to show and show the support for our upcoming too. The ones right now that are probably in the Olympics, they don't need as much help, but our organization going forth is going to need a lot of help, kind of giving these kids these opportunities to become the next Olympian. So it's no better time, and it's super exciting for our youth.
All right, Brett, thank you. And Chuck, you know, an elite Paralympian, so many accomplishments there. What does it take mentally and physically to get to the level where you are?
Yeah, you know, I think that it takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and a lot of passion, and a lot of heart and joy and love of the sport. You know, I always tell kids, because one of the things I love being about a Paralympian is I get to inspire other kids with disabilities who are like myself, who can have role models who look like them and know, wow, I don't have to look up to able-bodied athletes. They're disabled athletes who I can be like. And so what I tell them is you have to find something you love. You have to find something you're passionate about. And that's really what will drive both the physical and the mental side. You know, I love staying up late at night watching game film when I should be sleeping or something. Or I love getting up at 6 a.m. to go push and train because that's when it's not too hot out. You know, you have to find something that you're passionate about and that you love, you know, really like nothing else. And that's really what can drive you to that level of being successful physically and mentally, because it's not always easy. You know, there's going to be days, I know everyone on this call, Sam, I'm sure also, there's days you don't want to do it. You want to sit back and say, nah, I'm good today. But it's that love and that passion for what you do that drives you forward. So that's what I always try to tell kids growing up is find something you love and are passionate about and just chase that, you know, and don't limit yourself at all. Do the absolute best you can, you know, push for the stars.
It's great career advice also. I'm getting the chills as you're saying stuff like that. And Sam, we're going to wrap it up with you and my 2 cents. The rings are my favorite. I think it's incredible watching the Olympian athletes maneuver that, the amount of strength it must take when you were saying before, you know, the different kinds of workouts that you do to support that. So you also touched on the mental aspect of it. Tell us more about the physicality and what you do to get to the level where you are right now.
Well, gymnastics is a lot of patience. I think that's the one thing I've learned the most. It's not like you're going to wake up one day and be able to do all these high-level skills. It's really this drawn-out plan where you know, 4 years, you make a plan, and you want to stick to it every single day, and you can slowly see your progression over time, and not trying to just go get skills right away, because that's how most gymnasts get hurt, but being able to just have the diligence to do drills for 5 times every single day for 3 years. That's the type of stuff that's going to help you be, you know, have a stronger foundation to build off of than you just risking it for all these big skills. And that's really what I've learned over the years in ways to stay healthy, because every time you get hurt, that's going to be a huge setback. And I really recently took this into my own hands starting in 2015. And I was injured all through college before that. And it really took a long time for me to actually say, hey, Sam, step back, do the boring things that you don't like doing. But through that process, I've been healthier and I've been more confident than I ever have in my entire career.
That's amazing. And we're excited to support you guys. And when you win your medals, do not forget Jill and Nasdaq Trade Talks. We'll have to have you back on the show. We'll certainly be supporting you through Tokyo 2021. So wishing you and your families all the best in health and success. And thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, thank you.
All right. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.